super staticky or I can't hear much. We are live here in Durham, North Carolina. It's week 7 in the PUL. Raleigh Radiance hosting their final home game of the season with Minnesota Strike, the visiting team, alongside Saul Yannick. I'm Daniel Prentice to bring you this one. Interesting game for us here, Saul. Two teams that would really need a whole host of things to go their way to get back into the playoff picture. But two teams that still are eager to play this one, at least based on our talks with both coaching staffs ahead of the game. Anything in particular looking forward to seeing in this one?
Yeah, Daniel, it's another beautiful day out here. It's a little gusty today, which will add an interesting element. I think what I'm excited to see is just the level of play in this league from top to bottom. Both teams have dropped a couple of tight games against top competition, and it'll be interesting to see, how competitive this game is, even between a couple teams with records under 500.
Before we get too much further into the topic on this one, we would like to shout out a couple of our league sponsors, including Discraft. The Discraft Ultra Star is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. This live broadcast of the Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmark Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops. Looks like Raleigh will be in the home reds with Minnesota in white for this one. Just a few moments away from our opening pull. And Saul, you mentioned the weather a little bit. Not too windy, but we are getting a few little gusts here that could certainly have an impact on the throws. Beautiful sunny day here. Right around 80 to 85 degrees in that mark. Kind of what you'd expect for a spring day in North Carolina at this time of year. Perfect day for Ultimate.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm looking out for in this game is, a road team in Minnesota who has hung real tough in a couple of really challenging road games this year. They had probably the toughest back-to-back road trip in the league this year, going to Philly and then New York, and played very tough in both of those games. They're a little bit shorter on numbers here with just over 2 full lines, and having spent some time in the Midwest myself, I don't know if their bodies are necessarily going to be fully conditioned to this type of heat, so it'll be very interesting to see. You get maybe a chemistry benefit from a shorter roster at times, but interesting to see if the hometown Radiance can pull away later in the game if they're able to utilize their longer bench and better heat conditioning here.
Yeah, it's very easy to see Minnesota's win-loss record at 1-3 and kind of discount them as one of the bottom teams in the league. But despite being 1-3, their season goal differential is just a -2, which really is a good indicator of when they're losing very close, and in their one win, they did win pretty comfortably. And I know you're a big hockey guy, Saul. I don't know how much of a baseball guy you are, but all of the stat heads in baseball say that goal differential is actually or run differential in baseball is actually the best indicator of the best teams.
Interesting.
So I jury out on maybe how much that translates to Ultimate, but and I don't think Raleigh will be coming out here expecting an easy win, despite how difficult it can be to win on the road in this league. But it doesn't take a whole lot of digging to see that Minnesota is probably a better team than their record.
Yeah, and the numbers are what they are, but if you watch the games, the Strike have been really competitive. They have a clear high floor of talent with some specific individuals who have been really carrying the mail for them this year, who will highlight throughout this game. And so, these are two teams with a lot of talent and pretty institutional structure at this point. It'll be interesting to see how their styles mesh.
It does look like Raleigh will have the opening pull for us. And again, they are in the home red kits. It'll be Lyra Olsen on opening pull duties. And we are underway in this one. Rolling pull does squirt past McKella Daly there, so it'll be deep starting field position for Minnesota. Danielle Byers comes underneath. Allegra Johnson-McKee to the middle of the field, connects with Steph Wood. Daly thought about pushing it deep. No one really was making the cut, and then the underneath throw is short of her intended target. So Raleigh will get an early break chance here.
And Minnesota showing us quickly one of the things they've fallen back on a lot this season with their O-line falling into a zone defense on a turn.
Minnesota struggling in the transition defense, and Raleigh runs it right down into the end zone. Lila Stanland there to cap it off from Julia Zwerzinski, but that was impressive fast break offense from the Raleigh D-line, something that they've struggled to find sometimes this year.
Yeah, interesting opening point. We saw Minnesota come out in a bit of a spread initiation, falling quickly back into their preferred vert stack offense by what I've seen from them so far this season. Just a miscommunication at the front of the stack. And then, Daniel, I don't know how much teams scout the opposing D-line offense, but personally, I don't necessarily know if, maybe Minnesota wants to play their game, run their systems the way they like to play them, and part of that is playing zone with their O-line. But, in variable conditions here, it seems like it's calm early in the game. I don't know if I'm going to give that Radiance D-line offense sort of easier looks, quote-unquote, through that zone defense as opposed to asking them to complete multiple contested passes through matchup D, although, the zone is potentially a way to save some legs from, if you have a certain team philosophy.
Or just like you said, the shorter team numbers on the road. Just 16 players dressed out for Minnesota today as they send the offense back out there. Millie Wright with it for Minnesota. Sarah Monshine now. Nice gainer down the far side. And now Minnesota is looking to get on the board. Floater to the back of the end zone. That's in the soccer goal back there, but that is out the back of our end zone. So good work for Minnesota right until the very end of that run.
Yeah, just a stray connection between two Carleton Syzygy players, Eva Fisher, Aria Kishner. Pretty good looking shot. One that I think Minnesota's pretty happy with.
Macy Hudson gets things started, finds Meg Duffy. Nice sliding grab by Claire Bidigary Curtis, a player who we've not seen a whole lot of this season for Raleigh, but certainly a player can make a big impact. And now
disc coming in halfway up the field after the huck goes out of bounds. Here's Monshine under pressure from Proksch. Monshine to Fisher with Baumgarten coming in, and great catch from Fisher. 5 yards to go, back to Monshine. Looking to get it off the line. High stall situation, inside break, right on the money. Around break looking for Pater, just overthrows Fisher. We got the Radiance D-line picking up coffin corner here. Macy Hudson. And then peeling off Monshine, picks off the double upline cut. Minnesota looking to counterattack. Blading throw, intercepted by Tanya Proksch. Radiance in transition. Leading pass to Bevins. Back to Hudson. Has Cutler open deep. Goes to Duffy, back to Bevins. Here's Hudson again. Takes the shot deep. Looking for Cutler in the end zone, and she is there. Fantastic forehand down the line from Macy Hudson, and the Radiance open with back-to-back breaks. Let's see if we've got Daniel back with us.
Test.
Am I back here? It certainly sounds like it. Sorry about that, folks. Had some issues with my headset there in the middle of the point. Thank you to my partner, Saul, for holding it down for me. Always interesting here in the live broadcasts. But I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. Raleigh did punch that one in. Bit of a marathon point there, back and forth. Some quick exchanges in the far red zone before Raleigh able to go the other way. Their second break to start this one. And if we do have any more audio issues, I do apologize in advance.
Let's see if the strike O-line can stabilize here. This is an important point in this game. Obviously, you can only sustain your legs so long if you're receiving and chasing in a high turnover game with your O-line throughout the game.
Another pull from Olsen. Michaela Daly comes across. Allegra Johnson-McKee. Byers uncorks a big backhand. Will that hang up long enough? Actually goes out the back of the end zone. A bit too much of a line drive there from Byers.
It's a nice looking possession from Minnesota, though, staying in that spread, spacing a little bit longer and having multiple connecting looks, some unders leading them across the field. I think Minnesota's going to be happy with that flow, and we'll see if the Radiance D-line can keep up their efficiency here.
Jenny Way drops it back to Naomi Anderson. While Stanland underneath to Zwierzinski.
Anderson back to Stanland.
Anderson resets to Stanland. Way hits Anderson in stride, and she's going to push it for the back of the end zone. What a grab! Dayla Waller there reels it in. 3 straight breaks for Raleigh.
Daniel, I don't know what's in the water this weekend. This Radiance D-line offense is looking efficient and lethal. We saw Jenny Way catching this nice under, connecting with the handler, running up into power position, and Waller with a fantastic acceleration in the one-handed stab to bring down the 3rd straight point. Timeouts are at a premium in the pro format, but I'm curious if the Minnesota coaching staff is going to try to put the brakes on this game for just a moment here.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Saul. I mean, we talked with the Raleigh Radiance's assistant coach, Brett Matsuka, for the game, and I think it's been no secret that one of this team's weaknesses has been the D-line's efficiency and ability to not just get breaks, but at times find any kind of fluidity moving the disc downfield. But 3 points, 3 breaks so far, and a couple of them without a turnover.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things Matsuka highlighted was something that he tried to emphasize this team was just do something. If it's wrong, we can correct that. But I think maybe he was thinking that there was a little bit too much differentiation amongst the D-line going the other way. I want to see a little bit more confidence, and we've seen that in the early points here as Minnesota looking to find a way to get it in the end zone for the first time today. Sarah Monshine is going to push it to space. Got a couple cutters back there. Nice grab in the back of the end zone by Cassidy Krocek-Kumro. So just what the doctor ordered for Minnesota. Pretty easy work down the 4 sideline, and they punch in there first.
That's a fantastic forehand hook from Sarah Monshine. By my eye, she's been this team's MVP throughout this season. She's a longtime veteran of the Minnesota area ultimate community and of this Minnesota Strike team. She's one of the league leaders in blocks, and she brings just an incredibly balanced game. Terrific defender, often takes primary matchups, and then she's a driving engine for their D-line and there for the crossing over swing line. And her impact in this game is going to have to be big for I think for Minnesota to get back in this game and to quarterback some efficient possessions on the turns they do get out of this Radiance O-line.
4 points in now. We finally get to see the teams swap roles. It'll be Danielle Byers on pulling duty for the strike defense.
It looks like the Minnesota game plan here is they've got basically 2 lines, and they've got a line going this direction and a line going back the other direction. So pulling or receiving, I think that they are comfortable with their personnel going out based on wind direction more than possession. And back in the zone here.
Emily Shkuski finds Claire Revere as Raleigh tries to navigate this zone defense. Revere through the middle finds Claire Hackle, and now Raleigh can fast break. Erica Birdsong. Shkuski back to Birdsong. No trouble for Raleigh navigating the zone there. Quick fire hold.
Yeah, Daniel, always a little bit of a challenging start to the game for an O player if the D-line comes out hot and, you know, you're 10 real-life minutes into the game and you still haven't stepped out on the field. And I think in that case, the zone is maybe doing the Radiance a little bit of a favor. You can catch most of your passes standing still. You don't have someone breathing down your neck, you know, provided that you get that initial breaking throw through the defense, provided by Revere in that case. This Radiance O-line offers a really challenging matchup question to the opposition with all their size and height. And it'll be interesting to see a relatively undersized version of the strike this weekend, a little bit undermanned in that regard, how they decide to try to slow down that advantage for the Radiance.
It'll be Olsen again to pull for the D-line. Big pull to the opposite goal
line. Monshine with a nice grab.
And Monshine is going to continue up the middle.
Good poach from Anderson there, and rotation from Jenny Way.
Here's Krocek Kumro. Minnesota stalling around midfield, but a blown coverage deep. Looks like a pick call, actually, so I'm guessing this one's going to come back.
Unsure if it was involved. Maybe happened a while ago.
Looks like they'll have to discuss to figure that out.
Quick decision here from the crew in green for us.
Yeah, disc will go back.
Fisher not interested in returning to the place of the pick.
Well, not many are, Saul. Disc back in play. Frankie Sereniti drops it back to Monshine on the reset. Great continue on the far sideline in the end zone. So good patient work for Minnesota once they enter the red zone. They punch in their second straight clean hold.
Yeah, this is looking more like the Minnesota strike team we've seen so far this season. This more primarily D personnel grouping, looking very comfortable attacking that far sideline, with Monshine ripping a nice inside forehand to gain most of the field early in the point, and then right working in, and eventually once again working the disc back to the break side for the score. Coach Genghis talked to us pregame about Eva Fisher and her role on this team as a primary disc distributor, as a left-handed player. She has usually a lot of access to her backhand, which has been lethal and accurate in the deep space so far this season by what I've seen on their film, and that is a strength that they lean on, and they are relying on a still very young player. If she's not still in college, she's very recently out of college, so she is back out here for this D point as well.
Audrey Lyman catches the pull and centers to Emily Shakuski. Nice gainer for Claire Hackle from Claire Revere. Shakuski finds Gross. Revere finds Birdsong. Great grab by Hackle to get down low. Juggled and saved by Shakuski. Audrey Lyman now. Oh, and Hackle is ruled in. Don't think she was even aware of that one initially. Nice point for Claire Hackle. And the Raleigh Radiance offense, they punch it in clean once again.
Yeah, nice decisive movement from the O-line there. A couple of high skill catches there. Always nice when we saw Claire Hackle getting down low for a tall player. That's not a skill that all players of her stature have, but always nice as a thrower to have a receiver with some versatility. And we saw most of the players on the O-line getting involved there. Nice timing and just decisive action, exchanging the initiative with lots of ease. And I think it's about time for Minnesota to think about a change of course here defensively. I don't know, that might be a little bit premature. We've only seen a couple of O points for the Radiance so far, one of which we saw the zone, so maybe they just need a little time to get their claws in this game as a D-line.
And that is something that we have seen them grow over the course of the season, but in their most recent game against Indy Red, kind of had that 2-goal deficit the entirety of the game. Were unable to find their way to level that one back up.
Yeah,
so
there was a third player in that game nobody's really talking about, Daniel. It's called the wind.
That is very fair. And so far, not been a big impact on this one, I don't think. We do see a miscue underneath, so Minnesota has gifted Raleigh with another break chance. Oh, but Raleigh's going to give it back. That went a little low for Proksch, and she was unable to get down for it. And now a deep shot looking for Byers, going the other way. Proksch there defensively, but does not win out against Byers. She's ruled just outside of the end zone. This time she is in after the drop back. So Danny Byers, the second most prolific goal scorer in league history there.
Oh, wow.
Punches it in for the Minnesota hold. Jenny DeJesus in New York by, I have to say, a very significant margin.
And that's career numbers?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Although the official numbers only date back, I believe, 4 seasons. But, I was doing some stat research because I was curious to see, and she's not scored yet today, but to see if Julia Hoffman might have a shot at the single season mark with the 2 games remaining this season. And I couldn't get a great answer on that from the stats that were available, or at least that I could find on the PUL website.
Well, based on her body language so far this game, I think she might know that too. She looks to get active on that goal line. But yes. I should highlight Rachel Johnson taking that nice forehand to one of her favorite targets, Danny Byers, in the deep space with close pressure from Tanya Proksch. Rachel Johnson, I believe, second in the league in total touches this season, and she, maybe it shows my ignorance, but she has really jumped off the page for me this year. I was not familiar with her game prior, and she has taken on a huge load offensively for them as a disc distributor.
We'll see this PUL sail out of bounds over our crowd on the near sideline.
Looks like a zone defense here for Minnesota.
And Szykuski making sure she checks the disc in the right place and immediately drops it back to Audrey Lyman.
Trapping zone here. Adaptive mark.
If you're able to find her way through to reset to Szykuski, though.
Little 3-3-1 wall. Nicely broken by Szykuski with that around forehand.
Nice grab by Hackle again. And now Raleigh's off to the races. Revere to Gross, intercepted.
Monshine.
Sarah Monshine with the heads-up defense. Great interception to snatch away that would-be goal. And Minnesota gets to come back the other way. They will call timeout.
Well, there we go, Daniel. The strike leaning on their established patterns, settling in with their zone defense, and despite the Radiance breaking through it with relative ease, we saw Sarah Monshine timing that descent from her deep position in the short field and cleaning up that shot to the end zone with incredible acceleration. And then coaching staff for Minnesota clearly with a plan late in this quarter, minute 17 left, ready to send the O-line back out there.
And I'll take this timeout here as a moment to shout out our longest-running gold sponsor, Laurie Marcy Real Estate. Like the Radiance, Laurie is dedicated and competitive. She's always aiming for the ultimate victory, finding you the right home. Reach out to us for her contact info or to her directly for any home realtor needs. So what do you think of the timeout call so early in the point, so deep in their own possession, in their own territory, excuse me?
Well, I mean, one perspective is that D-line has yet to play offense in this direction. So, you know, if they have a real intent on a certain line playing offense in a certain wind direction, that would be the idea. But I think in the bigger picture, you go down 3-0 to start the game, and the opportunity to bring it within 1 before the end of the quarter, you're feeling pretty good about yourself from a Minnesota perspective.
Those ends of quarters really can just completely change the complexion of a game. Steph Wood brings it back to Daly. Fire surveys and drops it back. Johnson McKee. And here is the aforementioned Rachel Johnson. But that one a little too quick back to her from Michaela Daly. J-Way picks up immediately and looks to go deep, but just at the wrong time, Lyra Olsen was coming back underneath.
Yeah, I want to see J-Way pump that one there just based on situation. I think 20 seconds left. You pump that and you throw 2 more completions and hold for last possession. Need to stand here from the Radiance D-line.
And the clock does hit zeros, so this will be the final possession of the quarter. This one pops up in the air, but Byers has plenty of time. Minnesota patiently trying to find their way out of their own red zone. Nice leaping grab from Wood. And that one gonna hang up, yes, but unable to be squeezed. Looks like we might have a call as well. No, indeed we do not. So that brings us to the end of the first quarter. Minnesota unable to march it down the field. And
all right, we will be back with the second quarter.
this live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. And again, apologies for the audio difficulties, folks. If I do go out, Saul has been doing a nice job of holding it down for me, so that is our plan for the remainder of this game, I think. First quarter done in the books, Saul. 5-3 lead for Raleigh. What are your overall thoughts?
I think my overall thoughts are impressive composure in the middle half of that quarter from Minnesota, and just leaving a little bit on the table there at the end of the quarter, with an opportunity to bring that within one, feeling pretty good about themselves. So, you know, the Radiance putting up a little bit of resistance there to maintain their buffer, and an opening hold here in the second quarter would go a long way to maintaining their advantage. Just going to lay out here and let Luke Mead talk to the people at home, Daniel.
Not sure if he's coming through, but he is certainly bringing the enthusiasm for this home crowd. In this final home game of the season for Raleigh, Claire Hackle from Claire Revere at midfield. Audrey Lyman puts Erica Birdsong on the far sideline. That one pops up a little bit on Birdsong, but Caitlin Gross gets up for it. Quick flip of the field, and now Birdsong is looking to attack the end zone, and there she is, finally on the board. Julia Hoffman. Raleigh starts the second quarter with a clean hold.
Yeah, it's a nice-looking possession. Radiance love to hang Caitlin Gross out under that disc, but she's comfortable at high point in that disc above her head in some gusty conditions. And once again, I think the tempo here, the cadence of the offense where they attack one side, they counter back the other side with an advantage has looked really excellent against matchup defense for the Radiance O-line, and that's a possession that's going to leave the home team feeling pretty confident moving forward. Want to see the Radiance D-line really sink their teeth into this second quarter, see if they can make life hard for this Minnesota O-line, hopefully sort of exhaust their legs for late in the game to pull away in the end.
A great response there from Raleigh after what probably would have been a frustrating end to that quarter for them, having that short field chance and quickly turning it over. You get the offense back out there to start the second quarter anyway. And go down the other way clean, get the defense back out there. Rachel Johnson centers to McKella Daly and then gets it right back.
Nobody marking Johnson.
Johnson McKee to Johnson. And Johnson going to boost a forehand, looking for Byers in the end zone. And she gets up over CBC. Danielle Byers showing you why she's up there for the PUL all-time goal-scoring records. Gets up big in the end zone.
Byers showed up on time to play today. She's taken a couple of the premier deep defenders on this team to the house so far, going up with the left hand over Bidigary Curtis in impressive fashion. She's a dynamic athlete out in big spaces, and we saw the shot go up from Rachel Johnson with her forehand looking a little bit like Carolyn Finney out there, wearing number 11, letting that forehand fly.
Boy, that is high praise there, Saul. Not many players I'd rather be compared to than old Carolyn Finney. And I have to say, it is very, very cool to see Danielle Byers still out here balling. I remember when she kind of broke onto the scene as a member of Westchester's Big Three when they made college nationals back in, what would that have been, 2017 perhaps?
Yeah, roughly.
And
so,
then
17 or 18.
Right when she was breaking through on the club scene for DC Scandal, suffered a real nasty knee injury, but has recovered from that, has been a big player for Minneapolis Dragon Thrust over the years. Been a high-impact player in the PUL for multiple seasons now as well.
Yeah, I think the Radiance would do well to stay over top of her.
Yes, although easier said than done, my friend. We'll see if that moment can spark anything for Minnesota. Julia Hoffman catches under no pressure around midfield. Lyman to Shakuski. Another big gainer for Claire Hackle, who's having quite the impact so far. Nice grab by Birdsong under duress. Shakuski swims back to find Hoffman at the front cone. Excellent work once again by the Raleigh offense.
Yeah, excellent possession there. Shakuski breaking that challenging mark with her trademark around forehand. Lots of inside space, and she says, I'm going to use all that space as a diversion for the eventual throw that I'd rather throw. Saw an opportunity for Hoffman to hit Hackle on the far side. Didn't like the look. No matter, Radiance able to counter back to this side and very efficiently march the disc up this sideline. I think so far we've seen the cutter's ability to beat a flat mark to a connecting cutter as the main strength of this Radiance O-line. They've struggled in the past when their cutters have struggled to hit those connecting passes to keep the flow going down the field, and so in this case not shifting that extra responsibility onto the handlers throughout the point. Curious to see if we see Minnesota go to more of a trapping mark in that regard. Not sure what the direction of the wind is from our vantage point up here, but would be an interesting wrinkle.
Lyra Olsen once again on the pull for Raleigh, and again this one squirts underneath the stopper, so deep field position to start for Minnesota. That was Mia Beeman-Weber to get started, and this one gets away from Minnesota. So short field chance for Raleigh. Jenny Way comes around to find Anderson. Way again, able to get it around the mark. Anderson inside forehand. That was a great grab down low by Jessica Wu, but it looks like the observers have a call that's going to bring that one back, I believe.
It's like a pick in the stack one throw before, so probably going to stay with Jess Wu unless she was involved. Nice little display of dynamic athleticism from Jess Wu, catching it on the way down, delivering a chest pass from her knees. Gets to stand up here.
Or not, maybe not.
Game of inches.
Disc is back in play. And Wu has to drop it back to Olsen this time. Quick exchange between those two.
Timeout here from Coach Jenna on the sideline. I like that call.
Not a whole lot going on downfield from the Raleigh Cutters, so I'm guessing that's going to be a personnel change for Raleigh. Try to punch in this break opportunity.
Radiance taking a little bit of a 5-yard yardage penalty for some reason on the timeout call.
Yeah, the flag did go up before that last throw, but hard to blame the observers too much for that. To be honest, I'm not sure what the exact rule is. I mean, in most sports, the timeout is called when the observer acknowledges it, or the referee acknowledges it, right? It's not a timeout until the officials can hear it. So
I've never thought about that before.
Yeah. So, it would stand with that the timeout is not called until an observer sees the flag on the field.
We got Lyman about 25 yards to go, looking at a vert stack from the middle of the field with Revere at the front, Birdsong at the back. Minnesota looking to come out in honest person defense with a backhand force. Important stand here coming up from the strike.
Shakuski again with that around forehand, finds Caitlin Gross. Hackle. Audrey Lyman.
Guess who?
There she is. I believe that's 3 straight for Julia Hoffman, who is going to officially have to turn her eye towards some league records here potentially if she keeps this up. But a big punch in there for Raleigh to give themselves a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah, Julia Hoffman's out here to chew bubble gum and score goals, Daniel, and I can tell you what, she's got no bubble gum
All
left.
out of gum, huh?
Really excellent possession from the Radiance in sort of the short field there. Big commitment to running off their throws, prompting some switches and destabilizing the marks and eventually exposing one additional continuation into the break space with, again, multiple players getting involved here and the Radiance offense looking really nicely balanced so far today.
Yeah, and that's a good timeout call as well. I maybe you'll disagree with this, Saul, but timeouts.
You know
to
how
me,
I feel about these things.
Yes, but to me they just feel so results oriented. If you are turning those timeouts into goals, then you are getting your value from them. Raleigh does just that there. And it helps when you get to get the best goal scorer in the league this season out there as well when you're in the red zone already. Double team there early on Rachel Johnson. She resets to Daly. Byers comes underneath. Emma Peasley catches on the near side. Peasley, a former Radiance player herself.
Oh yeah, hometown favorite.
Steph Wood comes under for a nice gainer, and she's going to push a forehand to the back far corner. Unable to be reeled in, though, by Allegra Johnson-McKee, who was able to get a hand to it, unable to reel it in.
Nice shape on that forehand away. Still plenty of deep space to loft it into. And I liked the look and good bid attempt from Johnson-McKee, who had separation.
Meg Duffy fires too low for Sadie Cutler, so it'll be a short field for Minnesota. Johnson to pick up.
Byers in isolation with Pletsky.
And she is the target, and you can see why. That explosive first step, get through the space she needs, and Minnesota takes advantage of the second opportunity.
And Daniel, I think that point demonstrates, some of the growth of Danny Byers' game over time. She hit a really excellent inside-out forehand break to connect the offense earlier in the point, moving the mark, and then hitting Emma Peasley away from the pressuring defender. And then they're working in lateral space, whereas earlier in her career, Byers was such a dynamic linear athlete, but they're demonstrating more change of direction and again using that speed and that burst, but in an end zone context, sort of similar to the way we've seen Julia Hoffman do so far today.
Now the question is, can Minnesota find a way to get a break in this one? They've had a tough time finding a way to slow down the Raleigh offense.
I think we've seen a few different elements from the strike D line so far. The zone able to create that one turnover that we saw.
It's Millie Wright on the pull for Minnesota. And that one lands just in bounds. Well, he does a nice job of avoiding the sideline trap due to some quick work from Audrey Lyman. Looks like we have a call downfield.
Radiance quickly into a vert stack here.
Szykuski taps it back into play and quickly hits Lyman, who finds Birdsong coming underneath. Hackle to Revere. And Revere is looking for Gross downfield. And Caitlin Gross got up the highest, but not quite high enough to pull it in. So Minnesota will have a crack at a break.
Yeah, good contest in the air from number 4 there. Cassidy, you got two last names that start with K.
You
played great D there, friend.
For you, Saul, so just know that. Nice grab from, but intercepted there. But taken right back. Looks like we do have a call, and I beg your pardon. We are a little removed from the far sideline.
Looks like Fisher there coming through.
Okay, Eva Fisher, yeah. I like the look of Minnesota's jerseys, but the yellow on white is a bit tough to differentiate from our distance here, unfortunately.
Well, Fisher deserves credit there. She overthrew her receiver there, if I'm not mistaken, but then, very quickly got her head back in the game and earned her team the disc back here. Quick double clear, triple clear to initiate from the sideline, and Revere is wise to it.
Revere looking like she was the intended target on that pass. Let's see if Raleigh can take advantage of the short field opportunity. They can. Revere to Hackle as the Clares connect. Raleigh takes advantage of the second chance for the break.
Claire Hackle looking almost uncertain whether she's allowed to catch that goal. Good transitional defense from the Radiance O-line. That's been one of the challenges for them this season, is some teams have really gone after, transition deep attacks, and there we had Szykuski with their head up in transition, and then excellent line of scrimmage defense from the group as a whole, flushing multiple cutters out, and then Revere diving down on the final bailout look there, and it was off to the races for the Radiance after that.
And I beg your pardon, that was a hold, in fact, I do believe. Lost track there in the flurry of turns between the two teams. Would like to shout out Claire Hackle, really having a big impact on this one in the first half. A player who Raleigh has missed at times this season. Was not present for the team's home game last week against Nashville, but really had a high impact as just a consistently open target. And now Minnesota will look to keep pace in this one. But that one taken away by Lila Stanlin. Good defense underneath. Way finds Nat Baumgarten. Way connects with Isabella Bevins to get it off the sideline. And here is the block getter, Stanland. Great cut by Bevins to get free from Byers. That one going to hang up, and Jenny Way snatches it out of the air. And Claire Bittigary-Curtis is there to cap it off from Way. That one, I can say, is in fact a break.
Really strong possession from Jenny Way there, controlling the play. Had an excellent double move up line from Bevins, and Way in particular able to craft a few forehands up closer to this near sideline. I believe that's in the upwind direction, and throwing them with a lot of touch, a lot of spin, so they're hanging for her receivers. A lot of throws that have come this direction have either turned over or they've been thrown with so much velocity that it's harder to lead a receiver in this direction. And her control of that throw is really crucial to the Radiance' ability to score there with a numbers advantage once they switch sides of the field. Minnesota a little bit in danger of letting the game get away from them here. This will be an important conversion for their D-line heavy personnel here. Got Peasley, got Monshine, got Fisher out here with a capable core of cutters as well.
Meg Duffy will get us restarted this time around. It'll be Monshine to pick up. Here is Eva Fisher.
Monshine ripping deep.
Louise Beck. That one gets away from Beck. Unable to connect on the aggressive look downfield, and so Raleigh will have another break chance. Duffy finds Maddie Plutsky. And that one has no chance for Jessica Wu. Not the throw that Sadie Cutler was looking for.
I think it was the throw she was looking for, maybe not the execution, but so far we've seen she's very willing to take that shot.
But Minnesota's going to give it right back. A couple of miscues traded back and forth. Cutler has some space. Nice run through block to take it back. Macy Hudson was beaten to that one by her defender, Anique Regan. Peasley now. Great defense by Maddie Plutsky to take that one away from Beck.
Tired legs on both sides here. Yeah, and timeout coming in.
Head coach Jenna Dahl getting that flag out there. And we'll take this timeout as a chance to send a big thank you to Wellsport Bodyworks and Carolina Pain and Performance for keeping our athletes loose. Their practitioners will deliver deep tissue treatments that help with injury prevention, recovery, performance improvement, mindfulness through movement, athletic endeavors, and more. come talk to us at the medical tent for more information. And of course, if you're watching this broadcast, that might be a long way for you. So reach out to us and we can connect you with our friends. Keep your body right. Saul, so far not the second quarter Minnesota would have been looking for. You know, it felt like they were really just a moment away in that first quarter from being right in it, but the second quarter has heavily favored the hometown Radiance.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest, Daniel. I think Minnesota needs to be a little bit more intentional about hitting the end zone with their cuts and with their throws. They've looked most dangerous when they've been challenging this Radiance D-line to make the play with the disc in the air. And certainly when you're playing from behind and playing with lighter legs, you're going to want to play some shorter possessions. What I see from the strike so far is trying to play a system game, and the Radiance have played a pretty reasonable half so far in terms of challenging them in the underspace, and I think Minnesota would do well to force the Radiance defense to respect those deep looks moving forward.
See Raleigh coming the other way now. Emily Shakuski. Great break with the forehand there to find Gross. Shakuski finds Lyman in the front of the stack and just inside the end zone. So, again, great use of the timeout opportunity to get your personnel out there, and Raleigh goes clean. They punch in another break.
Yeah, Radiance continuing their dominance on the mark this game in terms of their ability to move the Minnesota marks and attack with counter moves. They've maintained some pressure towards the open side. We saw Shakuski getting open at a high stall count for Revere in the only moment where the Radiance O-line looked truly stuck in a trapping situation. And from there we saw Shakuski and others continue to access breakside momentum. And she eventually used all that momentum that she has moving towards her forehand to serve that inside backhand in uncontested to Lyman, I believe.
And so I want to go back to something you were saying right before that Raleigh possession about Minnesota's kind of commitment to the maybe more conservative system. We spoke with assistant coach Genghis Phillip before the game, and he was talking about encouraging his team to do exactly the opposite of that. Get a little bit more aggressive, take those shots. So we'll be really curious to see if they are able to get a little bit more aggressive downfield, because they have had some plays today when they've gone for it. Made some big plays in the deep space. Wood just does beat Way to that one, but Byers is unable to dig that one out of the dirt. Olsen squeezed it through to Anderson. And Anderson tries and succeeds in pushing that one to Olsen after the block. And Stanlin tries to bend one to the back corner, and that one is right on the money. Beautiful throw from Lila Stanlin to find Julia Zwarzinski, and that's another Raleigh break.
It's a bit of a heartbreaker for Minnesota there. We saw Rachel Johnson playing excellent backfield defense, got a full paw on that reset throw, but Lear Olsen able to bring it in after the bobble, and then Stanlin looked at that weak side cutter once, looked at it twice, and decided, I'm going to serve this up there for Jay-Z. I'm feeling good about that look, and it was easy as it comes with great execution.
And so we all obviously have a lot of game left.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a whole half, in fact, once this quarter wraps up. But we're seeing something that Minnesota's a little unaccustomed to being in this year, which is really a pretty big deficit.
Yeah.
Are we seeing something different from Raleigh that they have not seen from their opponents, or do we think Minnesota is maybe struggling to hit their previous form?
Yeah, I think the Strike are a little bit shorthanded today. Obviously, total numbers, and also, they've got some contributors who did not make the trip with them. I think the heat is a legitimate factor here. The Strike have not looked like they've had quite the pop that they have in previous games, and I think they're making 75% of the possession look great, and then there's a little bit lack of finishing touch there, and then they really struggle to get the disc back at the end of the day. So I think it'll still to be seen later in this game if they can get back in it, but I think the hometown Radiance have thrived in these conditions so far.
Byers has no mark and has no trouble boosting it deep downfield, and that one hits her target in stride. Aria Kishner there to finish it off. Some fireworks there from Minnesota. Maybe can give them a spark.
Yeah, love that look. Byers, with her favorite backhand, has the look down the line to Kishner, a Carleton alum, such as just like myself. Always, even since her first year at Carleton on Syzygy, has always had fantastic timing in the downfield space, and just finds herself open by putting herself in the right place at the right time and accelerating away from her defender, with Byers putting it right on the money along that back line that has at times given Minnesota a little bit of trouble today.
And you mentioned Carleton, Saul. We've got D3 College Nationals going on this weekend. I know can be a very strong relationship between the D1 Carleton teams and the D3 teams. And then D1 Nationals, just a weekend away.
Absolutely. Going for all four, Daniel.
Wouldn't that be something? If anyone could do it,
oh yeah,
it would certainly be Carleton.
We had a season in college and we had 2 out of 4. It's a pretty good year, 2017.
2 out of 4 is not too shabby.
A little dominator action here from the Radiance.
Oh, another near block. How on earth did Audrey Lyman save that one? It was Fisher who got the paw on it. Now Lyman looks to laser a forehand downfield, but that's well intercepted. That was Monshine who was alert to the danger. Oh, and that one just squirts right through the hands of Krocek Kumro.
Yeah, looks like receiver going to the inside space, and Fisher just looking to move it down that open side there.
Shkuski's able to catch up to that reset.
Late clock scenario here.
And this will be the final possession of the half. Let's see if Raleigh can punch it in. Hackle connects with Birdsong. So nice work by Raleigh. Excellent use of the end of quarter there, and they do punch in the final score of the half. So it'll be a nice, comfortable lead for them going into the intermission. 13-6 on Minnesota. We will take a breather with the players. Be sure to join us back for the second half. Should be a good one, folks. Welcome back for the second half here in Durham, North Carolina, Carolina Friends School. Hosting the Raleigh Radiance for the final time this year, their last home game of the season. They currently lead 13-6 over Minnesota Strike, and it's Lyra Olson who gets us back underway with the PUL. Dominant performance from the Radiance in that first half. Going to leave Minnesota with a very tough task of getting back in this one. Danielle Byer is able to get it off the sideline to Rachel Johnson. Johnson pops it around the mark. Connects with Allegra Johnson-McKee. Now Michaela Daly. Big backhand fake before the reset. Byers showing off the ballet background there with that saving catch. But that one goes off the hands of Peasley. Good defensive pressure from Tanya Proksch. Naomi Anderson picks up for Raleigh. Isabella Bevins catches on the far side. Olsen connects with Proksch. Jenny Way pushes that forehand down to the end zone, and Claire Bittigary-Curtis is there to cap it off. Raleigh begins the second half with something they did much of in the first half. That's a break.
Yeah, welcome back, Daniel. More of the same for the Radiance D-line, looking efficient, attacking down that strong sideline. Saw Lyra Olsen sort of cut back towards that same strong side with an opportunity to come back towards the near side, but after that we saw Jenny Way rattling down that open side and release that forehand to Bittigary-Curtis with a big margin for error, hitting her tall receiver in one of her first participations of the season.
Yeah, it's been a shame we've seen so little of CBC, as she is affectionately known this season. She really was a top impact player for the team a year ago when they made that run all the way to the championship game.
Yeah, and I like her deployment on the D-line here. Obviously, one of the things that this Radiance team has in spades is height on their O-line, and I think with her delayed start to the season, getting her over on the D-line gives them more punch after the turn. Just as a release valve and as a player who wants to go out there and get the disc with a lot of conviction after the turn.
Let's see how Minnesota responds with their first O-point of the half. And Mia Beeman-Weber sends this one downfield, and that one is on the money.
Shot.
They connect with Frankie Sereniti downfield. Excellent connection, and Minnesota starts their half with a hold as well.
More success in the deep game for the Strike here. We saw a pull play goal, 3 throws and pay dirt for the Strike, with Monshine getting the disc over to Beeman-Weber on the rail with a wide open receiver running into the break side deep space. I think if Minnesota is going to make this game competitive, that's going to have to be more of the focus, both in terms of speeding up the game state and just they've been more efficient in that method of scoring than they have been trying to grind unders.
And so you have a much better eye for this sort of thing than I do, but Minnesota didn't have any points like that in the first half. Was that something that Raleigh was doing defensively, or something that Minnesota was just not doing a good job of getting set up and attacking early in their points?
It's a good question. I mean, we saw a decent amount of sort of handler sagging in that first half and a quick willingness to go straight back into a vert stack for Minnesota, and there we saw a handler clear play where they accessed a thrower in the cutting space after flushing that handler defender out. So it's possible that could have been a minor adjustment to the sort of soft front line defense the Radiance have played all season, as the Radiance O-line is moving with a shot to Hackle.
Can Hackle track it down? Yes, yeah. She can. Beautiful shot from Caitlin Gross. Raleigh says anything you can do, we can do just as well at the very least. Excellent O-point from Raleigh.
Yeah, one additional throw required there, but really excellent cutter-to-cutter connecting throws there from that group, cutting down this same sideline with Gross, sending it out into space for Claire Hackle, who's a big target, and she's created plenty of separation into that deep space. You know, Daniel, the only thing I have to say is I wish this could have shown up 1 or 2 weeks earlier. You know, this is the type of offense that we've come to expect from this team over the years, and this is a group that's really clicking today.
Yeah, perhaps built some confidence with their performance a week ago against Nashville at home. Yeah, I mean, this team, it's all kind of, you know, it's hard to beat around the bush, finds themselves in a very unfamiliar spot. You know, this team is a team that has missed the playoffs once in the franchise's history, and them missing that playoff run a couple years ago happened in the very final game of the season, a surprising loss to Austin on the road. So they've really never been in a point in the season where they felt out of the playoff picture. But we talked with assistant coach Brett Matsuka before the game, and he said very sincerely that, you know, most teams don't really remember the result of a season, or that's not their big takeaway perhaps. It's more about the journey and getting to play with your teammates, and that very much is the focus here. How can they be better today and be better teammates today than they've been earlier in the season? And so far so good on that front, you have to say. Beeman Weber shoots a big forehand downfield, and that is an absolute dime. Steph Wood didn't have a whole lot of room, but that one step was just enough. The perfect throw from Beeman Weber gets Minnesota back in the end zone.
Mia Beeman Weber heating up here, spies a deep receiver with backside help and says, I'm just going to fit this nicely into that front pocket of the end zone, give both defenders no chance. This is a player who's has incredible acumen in the deep throwing game, just finished their career at Carleton, and obviously a very tall and long frame. That's been the case as long as I've been aware of Mia in the game, and that type of deep throwing prowess is something that'll scale to every level of play, and I'm happy to see them sort of showing up for the second half here.
Yeah, again, 2 points in a row from Minnesota that we really didn't see any of in the first half.
The question here is whether the Radiance decide to, you know, bring a bit of a curveball or counterpunch, because, you know, now they've conceded a couple of very, not necessarily uncontested, but very high efficiency holds from Minnesota. See if they can get a little bit of that leverage from the first half that they had against the Minnesota O-line.
Blady reset from Lyman is just up long enough for Shakuski, and now she's going to shoot deep for Caitlin Gross, but it's just out of reach for her. So Minnesota will get their first opportunity to break this half, but Eva Fisher is unable to save that one right on the sideline.
Yeah, throw leading her out of bounds there. Really challenging catch there to toe it and snag it with the one hand.
Shakuski for the moment unmarked as Raleigh enters the red zone. But we have a collision downfield. Claire Revere for Raleigh, and
just got some, I think some feet tangled up there. I think maybe a flat tire on the part of Revere.
Not quite able to tell who's down for Minnesota. Revere will head off. Certainly looks like the Minnesota player got the worst of it here.
Looks like, yeah, 15 Serenity here. Maybe a turned ankle, optimistically.
Certainly hope that she is all right for the long term as she is helped off the field. That's one thing that I think all viewers and fans of both teams can agree on. We always hope everyone walks away healthy from an ultimate game. We are back underway. Disc with Shakuski. She quickly finds Hackle. Way is able to track that one down over the head, and then quickly finds Lyman at the front of the end zone. Audrey Lyman, we're accustomed to seeing her throwing goals, but she's scored a few today. And Raleigh finds more success here.
Yeah, a couple good instances of Radiance players with tight coverage from Minnesota, but using excellent body positioning to just maintain their advantage, with Way sort of walking out that leading pass to space with Wood in her pocket, and then Lyman, getting her position on the goal line and able to both maintain her open side position and allow herself to toe that one into the end zone. I think that's an area that some players get themselves in trouble with. It's a common place for a run-through block where an offensive player is trying to milk that throw into the end zone, and if it's not thrown on the money, you can expose yourself to that inside line run through, and there Lyman able to maintain both the advantage and the field position there. See if the Radiance D-line brings a different look here. Keep the strike out of the deep game that they've been making money on so far this half.
It's Duffy on the pull. Beeman Weber grabs, centers to McKella Daly. Kishner finds Byers. Steph Wood reacts to that one. Byers players always looking to get it to the end zone, but that reset to Daly a little too much on it, I think, unable to make the one-handed grab.
Good fronting defense in the lane from Jess Wu there, denying the under in that short space, and the next throw ends up being a turnover for the strike.
Macy Hudson resets to Pletsky. Oh, and that one gets away from Bevins, not able to adjust. Minnesota will come back the other way. Allegra Johnson-McKee. Could Byers keep it in bounds? No, she could not. That one not on the mark from Johnson-McKee.
Everybody on the field wearing down here a little bit, Daniel. I'm curious to see if the Radiants opt for a timeout or if they sort of trust the D-line and ask the opposing O-line to grind through it. Good poach from Wood, almost comes up with it.
Pletsky at the front of the stack. Bevins gets down low to reel that one in. Sadie Cutler.
Travel there doesn't stop play.
Couple of tough reset looks, and that one too low to be saved by Hudson. Looks like we have a pick call right around in the middle of the field, so that disc will go back.
I was about to say, Daniel, if we tap it in with Beeman Weber in that position, I was going to give you three options of what was about to happen.
Sorry to take that opportunity away from you, pal. Disc for now back in with Daly. And there's Rachel Johnson with plenty of space. Now Byers thought about going downfield, but holstered it. Johnson gets it underneath, and Daly makes a nice grab on the reset. Here's Beeman Weber. That one not in the range of Danielle Byers. And there is the timeout call from head coach Jenna Dahl. So
yeah. Go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I was just going to say, looks like the personnel change that you were asking for a couple possessions ago is coming to us here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of hard work from the strike there to get off of that far trap sideline, and unfortunately, Beeman Weber just off the mark with that throw. I think maybe just a little bit greedy, trying to lead Byers closer to the end zone instead of, just connecting for that, 15, 20-yard gainer instead. And I think very successful possession for the D-line there. Didn't actually convert the break, but the game's a bit out of hand. But when you lead in these situations, you just want to continue to take the legs out from under the trailing team so that they don't have enough energy to mount this comeback, particularly when they have, some players who might want to be crossing over to bring some extra offensive acumen to the break chances that may come. And so far, so good for the Radiance in that regard that, we asked for them to prevent the deep game early in this point from the strike, and they were extremely successful at dragging this point out longer, making them possess.
So Shikuski will get us started. Erica Birdsong all alone on the far side, and indeed it goes up, looking for Julia Hoffman. And Julia Hoffman reads it perfectly and in the end zone as
Crucially
well.
Crucially so.
I was worried for her there for a moment, but Erica Birdsong's deep shot gets the big goal scorer in where she belongs. Raleigh takes advantage.
Daniel, we know assists don't put food on the table in the Hoffman household.
No, they do not. That does make it 4 for Julia Hoffman. She is now 4 away from what I believe is the single season record in the PUL. It's difficult to tell because all I could find on the website was all-time goal scorers. So it is possible that there's someone out there who was maybe a one-season wonder who put up a bigger mark than Jenny DeJesus' 26 a couple of seasons ago. And I have to add, that 26 came with 2 playoff games as well for Jenny DeJesus. So Hoffman within reach of breaking that record in just a regular season.
And I do want to highlight, that type of deep receiver acumen that she demonstrated there. She's getting loose in the deep space. Unsure if there was a miscommunication defensively for Minnesota, but that's a lot more of what we saw from Julia Hoffman last year, where she did a lot of her damage out in big space. This year she's been doing, sort of a secondary big space role, but then, making it her mission to catch goals on the goal line. I'd like to see her get more involved in the flow and try to get more yardage as opposed to just sitting back and collecting the goal at the end of the point.
Hear that, Julia Hoffman? Saul Yannick says, leading the league in goals, not enough. We need to see more from you. See how Minnesota's able to find an answer to that Raleigh break. Byers finds Daly and then comes across to get it right back. That one pops up a little bit from Byers.
Good grab.
Nice grab by Steph Wood. Daly gets around. Nice grab by Johnson on the far side through contact from Lyra Olsen. Thankfully, looks like she's all right. And then swatted away, but saved by Johnson after the block from Stanland. Peasley puts it to space, and it floats, but Byers is there to pull it in. A couple of close calls there for the Minnesota O-line, but they do punch in that hold.
Yeah, excellent point there from all involved. Lyra Olsen on a mission there, trying to hawk down that block, and Johnson with an excellent grab under heavy pressure. Radiant's been pretty successful about keeping Byers out of the deep space, but Zrazinski just maybe caught face guarding with the disc switching sides on the goal line, and Byers able to catch that sort of mid-range away into the front half of the end zone with a nicely weighted pass for another goal for the veteran.
I'll take this moment to shout out a couple more Radiant sponsors who have done so much to keep our athletes in good shape this year. Select Physical Therapy, sports medicine team at Select PT, helps our athletes recover from injury and prevent further injury. With convenient locations nearby here in the Triangle, care is never far away. Go to selectphysicaltherapy.com to find a location near you. The Radiants also want to show appreciation to O2 Fitness for their support of our athletes. Whether it's group fitness classes or personal training, O2 has the fit for you. With gym locations in Chapel Hill, Durham, and Raleigh, there's an O2 Fitness Club convenient for you.
And Greensboro.
Greensboro, there you go. Insider knowledge from the Greensboro resident himself. Audrey Lyman connects with Birdsong. Birdsong to Hackle. Raleigh moving quickly here. Revere brings it back to Lyman. I'm not sure if that one was blocked at the point or if it was just a missed throw from Revere. Either way, Minnesota going to try to go quickly the other way. Oh, just off the fingertips. Regan was the one who got the block, if it was a block. Got the hand for the would-be bookends, but was not quite able to squeeze it.
Nice looking shot from Eva Fisher there with her lefty backhand. Clearly comfortable letting it loose in the deep space.
Hoffman unable to save that one from Caitlin Gross. It'll be a shorter field this time for Minnesota. So they look for their first break. And that one painted down the line, but Gross is alert to it. Good interception from Caitlin Gross. Claire Revere completely unmarked as Raleigh crosses midfield. And Birdsong is going to push it for Hackle downfield. And Hackle takes advantage of the height advantage and the steps as well. Nice grab up there for the Raleigh score.
Claire Hackle on a mission there after multiple turnovers. Very few players with much gas left in the tank, and Hackle just ripped a whole 50-yard sprint down the middle of the field. Birdsong, plenty of angles to serve it up to her receiver, and Hackle, without a doubt, in the end zone after what was a near miss for the first, I believe the first break of the game it would have been for the strike.
Yes, I do believe so.
So, you know, the striker hanging tough here. That was a good goal line stand with an excellent trapping mark, getting a piece of an around throw from one of the more, you know, well-skilled players on this Radiance team. Obviously an incredibly accomplished player in Claire Revere, and then just whiskers away from bringing in that bookends.
And again, I want to shout out Claire Hackle. We don't have real-time yardage stats, but it feels like it's got to be getting close to a career game here from Hackle in that regard, if not there already.
I'd love to see distance traveled data, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is well established, but ultimate stats do leave a little to be desired in their current state. But
a couple of gentlemen out of Utah who are hoping to push it forward. I haven't done much research, but it seems like a cool thing.
Rachel Johnson for the strike. Danielle Byers looking deep. Shoots the forehand down into the soccer goal, but out of the back of the end zone. She was looking for Steph Wood back there. Maddie Plutsky will get Raleigh started the other way. Cutler to Hudson. Bevins back to Plutsky. Raleigh looking to work quickly here now. Meg Duffy. Baumgarten. Jenny Way wants to go deep. Baumgarten finally gives her the option. Just beyond the reach of Nat Baumgarten there from Jenny Way.
Good looking throwing decision, and Nat Baumgarten going on an absolute marathon this point. She was churning yards. Unfortunately, just the wind causing the disc to die a little bit there. And now the Radiance with about 45 seconds to earn possession back from the strike, who are wearing down just a little bit here.
Beeman Weber looking for Peasley downfield with the big forehand, but swatted away by Jenny Way. Jenny Way catches back up, knocks that one away from her former teammate, and Raleigh is going to call timeout here.
That's a bomb from Beeman Weber going the other direction, and I don't know how many players in the league are catching up and making that block. Obviously, Jenny Way plays a big role on this team on the field, off the field. She does a lot of things that people don't realize, but when the disc is in the air, there's few people in the sport who do things like she does.
For those of you who don't know, Jenny Way is the CEO of the team as well. So in addition to being one of the star players of the team, makes just about every single thing happen for Raleigh Radiance.
Makes the big bucks?
Yes. And she earns them.
C-suite?
She earns them for sure. I can say that as a member of the steering committee myself. I'm not sure what this team would do or be, frankly, without Jenny Way.
I think her warm-up for the games is setting up all the flags and the cones.
Yes. Yeah, I worry for her. I need her to stay healthy out there.
Looks like out of the timeout, we might be seeing the strike go back to their zone. It's been a while since we've seen this. See if the Radiance are ready for the shift in style.
And it's Lyman who will be the quarterback to start at least. Szykuski finds Gross, but Gross is able to avoid the trap as well. Quick work to get it off the side. And this will be the final possession of the quarter. Still a long way to go for Raleigh, but they can be as patient as they like against this zone. Lyman drops it back to Szykuski. Caitlin Gross is all alone. Minnesota switches into a matchup defense. Hoffman thought about it. Elects to hit Szykuski in the backfield instead. Lyman to Birdsong. Just outside the end zone. We had to find a way to get one more for Julia Hoffman in the third quarter. Excellent work from Raleigh as they go the full field on the final possession of the third quarter.
Finish your beer, everybody. You know, Daniel, I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with the tactical decision defensively there from Minnesota. With time winding down, I'd like to see aggressive fronting matchup defense instead of a more passive zone defense that allowed Radiance to drain the clock and then march it up the field.
So Raleigh caps the third quarter with one last goal. We will take one final breather. Be back in the fourth quarter in just a moment. The Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to PremierUltimateLeague.com to donate today. This live broadcast, the Premier Ultimate League, is brought to you by Breakmark Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops. So it's one final quarter of home action for Raleigh. It looks certainly that they are going out with a bang here. What are your thoughts through three?
Well, I think the Radiance O-line has looked just excellent today. Just a lot of balance throughout. The handlers pushing the disc down the field. Cutters able to connect with one another with regularity. And anytime the Minnesota defense has eased up, the Radiance have been willing and able to convert in the deep space, both from a matter of throwing execution and from a matter of Cutters gaining separation. Minnesota has had flashes of you know, quite honestly, looking like the team they've looked like so far this season. But there just hasn't been enough sustained execution with their offensive unit, and the D-line has really struggled to find genuine traction against this Radiance O-line, and I think that's a testament to the home team, and I will be perfectly honest. I think the heat is playing a real factor in this game. The Strike are low on overall numbers, and you know, they just haven't had quite the I mean, I said it before, the finished product at the end of these longer points to complete good possessions and to maintain excellent defensive pressure.
Here is the opening pull of the fourth quarter. Raleigh back out on offense after getting that last goal of the third quarter. Revere quickly to Birdsong. Revere to Shikuski to Gross. Lyman now. And Lyman is going to find a wide open Caitlin Gross in the end zone. All too easy for the Raleigh O-line there. They get the fourth quarter started with a clean hold.
Lyman and Shikuski feeling it back there. Audrey Lyman sees a streaking Caitlin Gross going deep from the backfield. No help out of the stack available, and Caitlin Gross uncontested in the end zone. Radiance now running through the tape here and feeling good about themselves. You know, Daniel, I'm not intimately familiar with the contingencies of tie breaks and such. I don't expect Atlanta Soul to drop any of their remaining games, and I think they would have to take a mighty tumble for the Radiance to be back in contention for championship weekend, but maybe. In some timeline, does the score of this game matter, and do the Radiance keep their foot on the gas to try to maximize their point diff at the end of the day?
I'm certainly no expert. I would have to think not, though, right? I mean, I think the tiebreaker with Atlanta would always be the head-to-head rather than goal diff.
Yeah.
With just the single matchup between those two this year. But, you know, I'm not going to tell Raleigh they should slow down, ease off the throttle either. So I think only winning and winning comfortably and playing as well as you can is all Raleigh can really have their eyes on at this point. And if things happen to break for you, then great. We see an early shot from Johnson looking for Byers. Well intercepted by Tanya Proksch, who came over late defensively. Anderson blasts a forehand downfield, but that one's beyond Baumgarten's reach. Poor net Baumgarten. She's done a lot of running, but the last couple deep shots have not been in her range, shall we say. Through no fault of her own, of course.
I think that's Nat's love language to a certain extent. She's getting out there running around.
Yeah, I'm not sure Nat's sporting background before Ultimate, but if you told me cross-country runner, I would not be shocked. And just a missed throw out of the hand of Byers. That'll give Raleigh a very short field. Baumgarten ruled out. Excuse me, not Baumgarten. Baumgarten has it now. We have a call and a great grab in the end zone from Dayla Wohler. Not sure if it's going to count, however.
I think that goal is likely going to stand if the disc should be coming back on a pick call. Not 100% sure. Yep, there we go.
You are, in fact, correct, Saul. Great grab there by Dayla Wohler. You'd love to see that one count. Raleigh takes advantage of the second opportunity of the point.
Strong point from Tanya Proksch there. First time the Radiance have gotten the better of Danny Byers in the deep space today. The forehand huck leaving just a little bit to be desired with the edge fading towards the help, and Byers just not able to make a legitimate play as Proksch had the only viable sort of launch point, and then with the Radiance attacking back the other direction, a stray around pass found by the heads-up play of Wohler, who makes her second excellent athletic play for a goal today to convert a break for the Radiance.
I do want to take a moment to shout out Byers there, because I think a lot of players do not pull out of the play in that situation. And Byers, alert to her surroundings, knew that if she was going to make a play on that one, it probably was going to lead to some contact with Proksch. And the heads-up safe thing to do there was to not go all in. So if you're going to call out dangerous plays, I think you got to highlight the moments when players are, do the right thing in those situations. Beeman Weber. Monshine gets it around the mark, finds Fisher. Millie Wright. Monshine once again. Pick downfield will pause play for the moment. Disc in the hands of Louise Beck. Beck drops it back to Monshine, gets it right back. Another stoppage downfield. We are back in play through right. Fish are going to try to get around the daunting mark of Bittigary Curtis. Beeman Weber just able to squeeze that one. Foul call on the mark this time. Doesn't look like Macy Hudson agrees.
What was your first clue, Daniel?
And the green rules in favor of Beck. And that one pops up, but is tracked down by Monshine. Nice adjustment to that air bounce. Minnesota finally able to punch it in.
I think that possession a little bit more typical of the style of play that we've seen from the Strike so far earlier in the season. In a couple of facets, we saw Beeman Weber, I think maybe changing personnel groups here, playing with that more D-heavy personnel, and the Strike really finally able to get out in big space and connecting multiple large gaining underneath passes. There was really stingy short field resistance from the Radiance D-line, but at the end of the day, it was a well-crafted inside-out forehand from Minnesota that opened up the goal-scoring pass for Monshine, and that was something that I noticed about the Strike throughout their other games was a proficiency on those inside-out breaks off the sideline, and something that we haven't seen as much from them so far this game. I don't know if a crosswind is factoring into that, or if the Radiance went to school on that coming into this game, but I think that is more of the chalk talk type film that the Strike will go home with from this game, and feel like if they play that way consistently, that'll be a good omen for their program.
Leaping grab from Audrey Lyman before she drops it back to Shikuski. Over to Revere on the swing. And where she's been all game long, Hackle. But she's going to get hit by the curse of the commentator as she turfs that forehand. Millie Wright puts the big forehand downfield for Regan. Nice grab by Regan over Hackle in the end zone. And there it is, finally. Minnesota finds their way in for their first break of the game.
Yeah, great shot from Millie Wright, a player who I believe commutes from Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba, all the way to play for this Minnesota Strike team. And that's a fantastic double move into the upline space and puts that forehand deep shot on a platter for her receiver. A couple points in a row with Minnesota finding their mojo here and putting some good tape. Putting some good play on tape for themselves.
Shout out to you, Sol, for knowing that Winnipeg is in Manitoba. Don't think your average American is familiar with Manitoba, but I'm going to give some credit to our Ultimate Frisbee audience and say that they're probably familiar with that one.
At the risk of oversharing, Daniel, when the University of Manitoba showed up to sectionals my sophomore year, I was terrified that they would take our bid to nationals. Fortunately, they did not travel for regionals that year with their roster of multiple Junior Worlds players and national team aficionados. Huh?
It clearly stayed with you.
Oh, yeah.
See how Raleigh responds to being broken for the first time today.
Looks like we've got a group of D-line cutters with the usual pairing of Lyman and Shikuski out there.
Julia Zwerzinski comes all the way into the backfield and pushes that forehand to Bidigary Curtis. He's going to try to continue to the line, and great connection there once Raleigh found their way beyond the first line of defense. It's another goal for Audrey Lyman. Good answer for the Raleigh offense.
Somebody in red took a little bit of that Felix Felicis earlier today, Daniel. We saw Zwerzinski with a big under to Bidigary Curtis, hit her up high, right where she likes it, and then we saw the obvious connection, the traditional Bidigary Curtis forehand deep to Audrey Lyman, right on the money.
Just how we're all accustomed to seeing. And that's just how you want to respond to giving up a break. I know this one is probably out of reach, either way you would think, but always nice to see the offense respond with a clean hold after being broken.
We do want to give out another shout out to our Radiance shooters here during this game. Clinics running throughout the day, and that program continues to be strong.
So now Minnesota, I think, just trying to find something to build on here going forward. Again, when we talk to the coaching staff, they, despite the 1-3 record, you know, they really believe in the future of this team, and they felt like the rest of the season was about building towards being a formidable program the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. So with that mindset, still a lot to take away from this game if they can finish strong here. Great cut downfield by Wood to gain some yards. Daly. Beeman Weber. And that one over everybody, finds Wood in the end zone. That felt a bit like just a punt there, but disc finds its way to Steph Wood, who punches in the goal. Good work by Minnesota.
Oh, I don't know if Wood is the intended receiver there, but I think that she does deserve some credit. She's, you know, in terms of on the film review that I was able to do and based on today's sort of body of work, she's a player who does a lot of, maybe not overlooked, but a lot of work that is heavy in terms of effort. She's a cutter who goes out there, you know, takes 4 or 5 hard steps, hard change of direction, and creates separation underneath with her commitment to running hard and her commitment to, you know, timing and angles. And, you know, today she's been proficient in that regard. Again, oftentimes she gets the strike through that sort of middle phase of the field, either through a late participation in the initiation play or just a solid continuation cutter with, you know, a good understanding of the space. And so she gets a little cookie there for her effort.
Yeah, I'm sure a few Minnesota players today will have a few moments that they'll look back on and know that they could have done a little bit better, but Wood has really been a very consistent option for them at all levels of the field today. Been fun to watch her make her impact. Shikuski a little bit further downfield than we're accustomed to seeing her.
Picking the stack. Got Monshine on Hoffman in the deep space here. See if the strike defenders can sort of flush all of these shallow Radiance players out of the backfield and see if they can create a high stall trap situation.
Claire Veer. Shikuski, and that one too hot for Gross. I think Gross caught leaning the wrong way of the pass there. And so Minnesota will have a chance to break. Ooh, I thought Revere had the beat on that one. Krochek Kumro, though, was there and drops it back to Monshine. And Monshine will call timeout.
You know, Daniel, something that I think is underappreciated at almost every level of the sport is sort of throw location and where you hit your receiver on an undercut. There we saw Monshine deliver that pass sort of high and outside with Revere screaming towards the inside shoulder. And, you know, she throws that low or she throws that either a little bit too far inside, then the receiver's going to slow down. Defender has a clear lane to get that block. And so, you know, as the level of play gets higher and higher, the intent on not just making the decision to hit your receiver, but where you hit them, where you lead them based on their defender and giving them the optimal opportunity to accelerate into that pass is, you know, a skill that the best players have perfected, and something that I think happens sort of automatically at the highest level, but should not go unnoticed.
That is why I love calling games to you, Saul. I truly admire the way you're able to break down a game in the moment. One of the best, my friend. And we are back underway on the other side of the timeout. Danielle Byers catches that first throw underneath. Ooh, Steph Wood gets it right back after that unorthodox reset. Nice grab by Beeman Weber under pressure. And they find Byers the front of the end zone. Nice work from Minnesota on the other side of the timeout.
Yeah, I think sort of executed right how they probably wanted to draw it up there, with the exception of a little piece on the mark, I believe, from Pletsky on Wood. But Minnesota gaining big yards to a couple of their favorite targets down the field and getting some middle of the field momentum before countering back to the open side through Beeman Weber. I do think there have been a couple of instances today, just now, Beeman Weber able to make that catch over a smaller defender. I think that they have been getting looked off on some reset cuts in situations that they could have gotten those passes, and you know, having a receiver as tall as Beeman Weber reminds me, I mean, maybe I'm dating myself, reminds me a little bit of Simon Montague. Maybe not going to separate quite as much as some of the smaller, quicker handlers, but almost impossible to actually deny them because they're such a big target, and their reach and their length creates such a big window to throw into if you can just get it past the plane of the defender's arms.
Szykuski stops that rolling pull. And Gross quickly gets it to Revere downfield. Hackled just outside the end zone. Revere there as the backup finds Gross in the end zone. Nice work from Raleigh. Once again, answer to giving up the break with a clean hold.
Yeah, it looked like Minnesota sort of left a defender lingering in the deep space there, but sort of a mid-range, long upline to Revere left that deep defender sort of irrelevant to most of that point. We saw some excellent footwork from the part of Monshine on Hoffman at the front of the end zone, and eventually after one additional pass, it was Caitlin Gross finishing the play after the switch of field into the back of the end zone for the Radiance. Daniel, I really can't overstate how impressed I've been with Sarah Monshine this season, just based on my viewings of the strike. You know, this is a team who haven't quite gotten the results that they hoped for, and they're going to have a couple of moments in certain games that they want back, but she's just been very impressive, and you know, doing it both in terms of counting stats, but also just overall impact on winning. And I think she deserves a lot of praise. I don't know if they do end of year rewards in this league, but I think she deserves a nod in some regard.
Yeah, she's been a fun player to watch for a long time, dating back to her college days at the University of Wisconsin.
I can forgive her for that.
Very magnanimous of you there, partner. Here's Beeman Weber. Johnson to Wood.
Byers is going.
And Wood is going to try to find her, and she does.
Oh, yeah.
Great throw from Steph Wood as Byers had steps deep. Minnesota, the good conversion, the offensive deep shot there.
Yeah, more feel-good moments for this strike O-line. You know, this is not a score that they're going to be happy with getting on the flight to go home, but at the very least, they've put almost an entire half of really quality work together, and I think that they can be pretty pleased with some of the connections that they've been making later into this game. And, you know, I was calling for their legs to run out throughout this game, and so far I've been impressed with their ability to fight through. You know, we're 3.5 minutes until the end of the fourth quarter, and they've shown no signs of sort of drooping in their effort or care out here on the field.
Yeah, that's a great shout. I think you are really across the league accustomed to seeing traveling teams wilting a little bit as the game goes on, whether it's a close game or like this one, a little bit more lopsided. It definitely feels like Minnesota is finishing more strongly than we saw them perform in the second and third quarters. Millwright on the pull for the strike. Lyman catches and centers to Szykuski, excuse me. Gross floats it for a Hackle downfield. Well placed from Caitlin Gross, and with the steps, Hackle made that one look easy. Great work by the Raleigh O.
Fun point for the Radiance O-line there. Caitlin Gross catches a nice big fill cut underneath after Hoffman takes 2 into the deep space. And then after Hoffman comes back under, Caitlin Gross spies Hackle with nothing but green space in front of her and serves up a nice fading forehand into an area where only Hackle can catch it. Hackle having best game I've seen from her in her participation in our area so far.
Yeah, breakout game for Claire Hackle for sure. First year on the team a season ago.
I think she deserves credit. You know, this is a big game for her in terms of, you know, the big things, catching goals, getting open in the end zone, making plays. But I think that every time that she's on the field for the team, she shows up. She puts on her work boots and does her best to contribute in the ways that she is able to. And I think that, you know, moving over to the O-line this year, she's been able to, I think, bring some balance and just generally bring a second wave of offense to a group that's been really efficient today.
Beeman-Weber in the center. Resets to Johnson.
I want to see Johnson let that forehand go.
She thought about it. Peasley did have steps downfield. Near block from Lila Stanland on the reset. And that one pops up. Byers no real chance of saving it. And now Raleigh looking to go quickly back the other way. But that throw gets away from Stanland. Trying to connect with Pletsky, who had the space. McKella Daly for Minnesota. Near block by Olsen. Raleigh not satisfied with the score. They're looking for one more break. They've hit the deck a couple times at this point. And that throw pops up but is saved. Nice grab by Johnson McKee. And she floats it around to Daly.
Good push from Gary Curtis, closing off an open under to Peasley there.
Byers waiting for the reset to get open, choosing to turn around and punt that one downfield.
Yeah. Just Wu, fantastic defense in the backfield there, forces the coverage sack for the strike, and here we see a stoppage. Maybe an injury for Johnson there.
Injury call, yeah. Rachel Johnson hobbling off the field.
That's too bad. 1 minute left in this game. Just giving it everything she's got. Monshine checking in.
High energy effort from Rachel Johnson this game. Certainly not the way she deserves for her day to end. Wish her the best, getting healthy going forward. We see the deep shot going downfield, and Stanland gets up big. And now that one gets away from Gary Curtis, but she's able to adjust. Nice grab by Claire Gary Curtis to run that one down. Raleigh punches in the late break.
Was a nice look deep from Naomi Anderson there to Stanland. Stanland and Kishner have been battling that point, with Stanland applying a lot of pressure prior during the strike possession, and then Kishner making up a lot of distance to contest in the air. So everybody out here giving their full effort despite the margin here, Daniel, and I think we can all appreciate that.
Absolutely. And again, keep going back to this, but had a great talk with Genghis Phillip of the Minnesota coaching staff before this game. And one thing he said was these players are entertainers at the end of the day, right? They're here to put on a good show for the fans here in the crowd and the fans watching at home. And I think both teams have done a nice job of living up to that today. Can't ask for much more, Saul.
I'd love to see the efficiency on huck percentage in this game, Daniel. I think the hucks they've been extremely effective on both sides. I'm sure I'm, explaining away some huck turns here or there, but I think both teams have found relative success in going deep versus trying to work the disc underneath today.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that Minnesota will want to highlight is some to further improve. Maybe not quite aggressive enough and taking some more of those deep shots.
I mean, they've played a lot of extremely high wind games so far this season, so, relatively calmer conditions might have been a little bit unfamiliar to them, to be perfectly honest.
Louise Beck resets to Monshine. Nice leaping grab by Anique Regan. And she pops it forward for Jess Hendrickson. Looks like we've got a foul call on the mark.
Monshine asking for her buffer, as she should. See if Strike can put this one away with a feel-good hold here.
15 seconds remaining in this one.
Let's make sure we get this call right, y'all.
It is crucial. Disc finally checked back into play. Ooh, Monshine puts Baumgarten in the dirt.
No buzzer beater here. Just playing out the possession once time expires.
Just like any other quarter, that's a rule change for this season.
We will play one more.
Just before the clock hit zeros. And that was Hendrickson there to cap it off for Minnesota. So it'll be the Raleigh offense on the field to wrap this one up. Can we get one more goal for Julia Hoffman? As she looks to track down the record books.
Daniel, depending on pending results going into the DC Shadow matchup, the remaining game for the Radiance this year, curious to see if with playoff position possibly clinched for DC, if they go into that game against the Radiance with one thing in mind. Deny 21 the end zone.
That would still be a tough order, I have to say.
Reminds me of the game in college when Steph Curry had gone the entire season scoring in double figures, and one team decided
double teamed in
we're
the whole
just going to
game.
double team Curry, we're going to lose the game, but
Yeah.
he scored 8 points that game in a 20-point win.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the debate is how effective is that strategy then, but Revere drops it back to Lyman. And Revere, I think, is all going to be a player that Raleigh will really regret not having earlier in the year. I don't think it's any coincidence that their two best offensive performances have come in Revere's 2 games this year. It's a player who can really do it all for your offense.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive environment in this game as compared to the defensive environment in Atlanta's, it's really apples to oranges. The Atlanta
That's fair.
defense was really stifling, and obviously she would have been absolutely needed in that game. But I agree with you, and also we got a lot of confounding variables flying around out here.
Indeed we do.
I think at the end of the day, this O group has shown today that they're capable of putting on a really championship quality performance, and it's just a matter of, the team getting everybody aligned, and I think that's been one of the main challenges of the season is just sort of the team, everyone getting on the same page early and often in time to win those games you needed to win to advance.
That's the nature of our short season here in the PUL.
Oh, yeah.
Every game matters so much. But Raleigh does look to go out on their final home game on a good stand here. Looking for one final score for the home crowd. And there it is. Couldn't have scripted any better. Julia Hoffman gets gets one goal closer to the PUL season high record. I believe she'll need just one in DC in their next game to tie. 2 to set the mark. And again, I believe already has the regular season total as of this game. So congrats to the goal-scoring machine, Julia Hoffman. Congrats to Raleigh for a resounding performance in their home finale. Comfortable 26-14 win. Saul, do you have any final thoughts for us?
It was a great game, Daniel. I think what we've seen is that even teams who have, records that leave them at the bottom of the standings in this league are capable of putting on a product that's really top tier. And my only hope is that, we get a championship weekend befitting of a league that's really come a long way in terms of quality of play. And so, props to the Strike. This is a brutal trip in challenging conditions, and they brought a 60-minute effort despite some of their stumbles in the first half and in particular that second quarter. But they are a team with a lot of talent that's to be reckoned with in the future, and I think that we know the heights that the Radiance can achieve in the future if they're able to get all their ducks in a row and keep everyone pulling in the same direction.
So Raleigh does end their home season with a very impressive victory over Minnesota. For Saul Yannick, I'm Daniel Prentice. For our producer, Matt Wolf, and our camera ops, and everyone who made this broadcast happen and this home season happen for the Raleigh Radiance. And, of course, thank you all so much for tuning in. Still plenty of PUL action to go around this season. We still got a few more weeks of regular season, the playoffs to come up as well. We hope you'll tune into that as well. But thanks so much for joining us today. Have a good season, everybody.